Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Blu-ray update haul. This is the October Amazon Prime haul sale that occurred a couple of weeks. I have purchased 15 Blu-rays since then, some of which have been something I've been wanting for a long time, some of which have been a couple of recent watch for the past year or so, or even this year. And obviously, the two ones are two that I just saw for my Oscar movie marathon. So, with that being said, let's get this started. So, let's start up what I kind of call the family section for this update. Two animated films plus a Tim Burton film. So, let's start up with the Tim Burton film first, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. In fact, I think back in 2021, I believe, or was it 2022, one of my first Amazon Blu-ray hauls I've gotten was the big Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory box set, right over there. And now I have gotten Tim Burton's adaptation. I've yet to get the Wonka film from Paul King. I did saw that, and I actually did like it. Not as strong, I would say, as the Willy Wonka or Burton's film, Mel Stewart's film to be precise. But I have a bit of a nostalgia-ness for this. In fact, if I remember correctly, I had mentioned this and Willy Wonka in my 10 childhood films video I did for my 20th birthday, even though that was like a few months late. But yeah, I'm just finally glad I got this movie on Blu-ray. And then we have Ice Age and the Croods, both the first films. So the Croods, definitely my second favorite of the animated nominees in 2013. My pick was Despicable Me 2. The sequel was good, but not great. I thought I had the sequel in my collection, but I don't. But I am also glad I got this one through Amazon because this is the one that has the good cover and not the lazy cover when it's just the character right in front of your screen, like some of DreamWorks' other films. And then the only Ice Age movie that does belong in your collection, the first one. The sequels, no. I did watch all the sequels, not the Ice Age Adventures of Buck Wild, but all the theatrical ones. Yeah, this franchise sucks. The first one's the only good one you need to see. You don't need to watch the sequels, especially the Meltdown. For me, I know Collision Course, many people said it's the worst. For me, that's the Meltdown. But I did have a bit of nostalgia having the Ice Age DVD, but I think we didn't have it as much, or was that a relative of ours that had it? But that was kind of short-lived. But now I finally got it. Now, normally I would have this open like Charlie and the Croods, but since this is like a Blu-ray DVD combo, the thing that holds this, if I can do this correctly, this thing is actually loose. The thing that is holding the bottom part of this is broke off, so I have to be very careful when I open this. So I have to do this through a flat way instead of the straight way. Yippee yo ki I know I would say the other line, but I might think there might be some kids watching it. But yeah, yep, I have gotten the first two Die Hard films, Die Hard and Die Hard 2, Die Harder, or just Die Hard 2. Now, the reason I'm going to be honest, I didn't watch these first two films, I think, until about over a year ago, specifically for a movie club live stream because they were doing Die Hard with a Vengeance. Because it's not random, they didn't do it in order, so I had to watch the first two and probably understand Vengeance. Mainly the first one, of course. Which I did like Vengeance. I almost thought of getting it, but I'm not going to at the moment. But I know this is kind of an interesting time right now with Bruce Willis, where he is at, and it's not really doing that well. That's kind of sad for him getting dementia at a pretty young age. That is just sad. Because when I saw these two films last year, the first Die Hard is an action masterpiece. It was a fantastic, fun, action-packed journey. Although both of these films are great in one way, shape, or form, even though they're both setting on Christmas, it is fantastic. Alan Rickman, phenomenal in that performance in the first film. I forget who the main villain was in the second film, but that was also a unique journey of doing it through an airport, even though I know that's kind of dated a bit. But this was released in the 88 and I think early 90s, but both films are really great. And man, I forgot what was Bruce Willis' character's name again. No, Hans Gruber. That's one thing. I think it's McClane. That's the name. I forget. It's just like it's been a while since I've seen the. Yeah, John McClane. That's who he is. So, yeah, John McClane really is a badass character. So, and Bruce Willis has to do done well with that, as well as the direction for these two films, especially the first one being an iconic classic. Okay, now time for some acting Oscar nomination movies, plus one that just got a screenplay nod. Castaway, The Pursuit of Happiness, 20th Century Women, and Frida. So I've seen three of these basically for the first time this year. You might know which one I have saw a while back, and that's 20th Century Women. I saw this back for my Oscar movie marathon in 2016. This movie definitely should have got a lot more Oscar nominations. I really love this coming-of-age 70s style film with this phenomenal cast, from Annette Bening to Lucas J. Zudman to Greta Gerwig to Elle Fanning to Billy Crudup. But Bening and Zudman, a great mother-son duo. One of the very rare mother-son drama films you rarely see, because you see a lot of father-daughters. And I know Room was another example of a mother-son movie that just came out the year prior. And obviously this got in for Best Original Screenplay for Mike Mills. For me, I think it should have won. I know Manchester by the Sea was a great win, and I would nominated it, but I would have given this to Mike Mills. Although the Best Original Screenplay of 2016 is Zootopia, but that's just me. But if Zootopia was not nominated, it would have been my pick. But based on the actual Oscar nods, 20th Century Woman would be my pick. Let's go into Frida. So, this is very interesting to talk about because, yes, this got 6 nominations. I believe it got 3 win. 2, I think 2 or 3 win. It won 2 for makeup and hairstyling and original score. So, and I know there's a recent documentary in Frida. I did not know much about who Frida was, but watching this movie was a really unique experience of learning about who this woman was. And Salma Hayek and Alfred Molina's performance were fantastic. I know that there is a bit of a controversy with this film regarding Harvey Weinstein. I think from potentially, I'm guessing he sexually harassed Salma Hayek during this movie. So I might understand why she might not go talk about this movie in general, because this is, of course, a Miramax Weinstein movie. Yes, from what happened behind the scenes, I strongly disagree what he did. That was just messed up. Even though it's a great film in general, and definitely probably my favorite of the Miramax Weinstein films of 2002, because I know Chicago, The Hours, and no, I have yet to see Gangs of New York at the moment, so I can't really say. But out of the 3 I've seen, this definitely is way better than The Hours and Chicago, in my opinion. And I know there is a documentary that just came out this year. I don't think it won't get in because it's based on a popular subject. So, even though that is an Oscar-winning movie by all means. So, let's go into Wilson! Castaway. I mean, I saw this for the very first time earlier this year. And the only thing I know was the infamous Wilson meme. And I know Tom Hanks plays is stranded on an island. And wow. One of the best survival movies, and Tom Hanks just gives a fantastic performance. I do think he definitely was better than somebody else in the best actor winner that year. But then again, I can't really say Hanks should have won that, because I've yet to see at the moment, specifically the other 3 nominated films, Before Night Falls, Pollock, and Quills. I only have seen Castaway and the Best Picture winner. So, but Hanks is phenomenal in this. A great survival movie. It almost gives me vibes of what later. I wonder if the video game Raft got inspired by this film or not. But that is definitely one of the, or Kon-Tiki, the Norwegian film. But I think if the game Raft had an inspiration, I think Castaway might be one of them. And then we have The Pursuit of Happiness. So I know that Will Smith obviously has a bit of a reputation ever since the slap, although things have calmed down, and Bad Boys Ride or Die got a massive success at the box office, so there have been a lot of people that have forgiven Will Smith. And this performance, oh my gosh, this was a phenomenal performance he did, especially with his son Jaden Smith on his featured film debut. I know Jaden's not much of an actor, but obviously this is based on the life of Chris Gardner, and oh my gosh, such a heartwarming and very sad tale of where Chris Gardner was at the time when he where the movie takes place and where he is at now. And Will Smith just is phenomenal. I can't really say he should have won that Oscar because I only have seen this in Half Nelson from the Best Actor lineup in 2006. I have yet to see Blood Diamond, Venus, or The Last King of Scotland, to be precise. The latter one, especially since it was the winner. But I do think this is my favorite performance from him. I have yet to see Ali at the moment, and I can't determine which is my favorite Oscar nominated performance by him. So, but at the moment, it's definitely a better performance than King Richard, even though King Richard was my favorite of the picture nominees of 2021. Speaking of Best Picture, here are 4 Best Picture nominees, 2 which were nominees, and 2 winners. The Queen, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Gladiator, and The King's Speech. So let's start up with The Queen and 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. And these are actually both Canadian Blu-rays, and as you know, Blu-rays are always region-free. It took a while for me to get 3 Billboards, honestly, because there was no physical store that had the 3 Billboards Blu-ray during the beginning of this decade when Best Buy and Target and Walmart still, especially Best Buy and Target still had big physical media stands. They had films like The Shape of Water, but not something like 3 Billboards. No, not The Shape of Water, but films like Blade Runner or some of the 2018 films, or even 2019, but none 2017. And because you got to keep in mind, I started physical media Blu-ray collection right after COVID lockdown. So, because we didn't get a Blu-ray player until, for the lockdown. So, yeah, it took me a while to get 3 Billboards, but I finally have it. It's my second favorite of the picture nominees and my second favorite of 2017 behind The Shape of Water. Frances McDormand and Sam Rockwell, phenomenal performances, definitely deserving Oscar wins. The screenplay, well done. Art McDonough definitely should have got in for directing. Woody Harrelson's fine, but he's also great as well, but Rockwell kind of takes it over the stat. But I'm finally glad I got that movie. The Queen, I know the royal family has been a bit of a divisive around the world in recent years, I know, especially if you don't live outside of the United Kingdom, like in Canada or Australia or New Zealand. I know how one of my favorite content creators is kind of tired of the royalty in his country in Canada, if you might know which one I'm talking about. But I do understand. Now, obviously, this is a very interesting take on the Queen. I did not know what the movie was really about, and it's basically the royal family's reaction to Princess Diana's death. And this is just around the time when the new Prime Minister for the UK was about to begin. And Helen Mirren definitely gives a great portrayal of Queen Elizabeth here. And I forget who the other actor's name is. They don't show him on that's unfortunate because the one who plays the Prime Minister, who is very overlooked this season because he was phenomenally good. Now, I heard he probably would have gone supporting, but he's definitely a co-lead because it's also about him dealing with the UK country around this time, and it's definitely a unique story like that. I know Spencer is probably the best film about the royal family, and that's still, without a doubt, my favorite one. But this is definitely probably a phenomenal film by Stephen Frears. And I know that just this week, The Grifters, his 1990 film, was announced in the Criterion Collection. I will be watching that soon to see if I would get that film in the collection or not. And then we got 2 Best Picture winners. Let's start up with The King's Speech. Now, let's just get this out of the way. This movie does not deserve the hate. I understand it's a bland Weinstein Oscar bait movie that Weinstein just heavily campaigned to get bad reputation to The Social Network. But honestly, this movie is actually still great on its own. I mean, this movie does not deserve the hate. The performances by Colin Firth, Jeffrey Rush, and Helena Bonham Carter were fantastic. For me, I think Carter and Rush should have won the supporting categories. And I'll be honest, Tom Hooper did deserve the Best Director win. I think he was the best of the 5 nominees. But this is just me that thought The Social Network was a boring film. Colin Firth would have been my Best Actor pick, not even the film for Best Picture. That would have been 127 Hours, including Best Actor for James Franco. But I would just say this movie does not deserve the hate. And the speech alone, that scene is just fantastic on its own. Well directed, well acted, and well composed. Well, let's talk about the one here that is obvious, Gladiator. As you know, just in about a month, we're going to get the long-awaited sequel with Paul Mescal playing the kid that was in this movie. and Denzel Washington. Now, obviously, we don't know if the movie's going to be good or is it not going to be that great like Napoleon or House of Gucci, or is it going to be a hidden gem like The Last Duel? We'll have to see. But yeah, did saw this I think earlier at the beginning of this year, and I was blown away by it. Or was it last year? But I was blown away by the film. It looked well. It was well craftedly directed. I definitely think it did deserve the Oscar win for Best Picture. Ridley Scott definitely should have gotten Best Director. I don't know why he didn't. And Joaquin Phoenix is almost close for my top pick for supporting actor between him and Albert Finney. All I have to left to see is Shadow the Vampire, because I also saw Traffic and The Contender. The Contender I almost got, but that'll probably be next time. But such an epic film, and definitely a deserving Best Picture winner out of the 5 nominees. And finally, we got 2 more 2023 Oscar movies that are now joining in with The Boy and the Heroine and Poor Things. I still have yet to get Elemental and Anatomy of a Fall on Criterion. But now I've got these 2, The Holdovers and Past Lives, which the latter came with the slipcover, and that was nice. So let's start with The Holdovers. Man, a new Christmas classic. I mean, I already had put these 2 films on my... If you see my personal Oscar lineup video of 2023, you know how much I dig both of these movies. And, oh, wow. This is definitely a new holiday classic. Probably my favorite Alexander Payne film I've seen at the moment, even though I've yet to see Sideways yet. That's the one movie I do need to see. Although I had saw Election and The Descendants. But I have yet to see Sideways or About Schmidt at the moment, so I can't really say. But this is my favorite one I've seen out of the 3. Paul Giamatti definitely should have won Best Actor. I know Oppenheimer was the big deal, but as you might have saw in my personal lineup, I didn't took big on Oppenheimer. Dave Vinejoy ran up, definitely deserved the supporting actress win. Dominic Sessa definitely was phenomenal for his debut performance. I know he went supporting, but I kind of put him in the leading, because he's basically with Giamatti throughout majority of the movie together, and it's basically about those 2. And he was phenomenal in his debut film, and this is definitely a Christmas classic. Also, shout out to Carrie Preston on her small performance. I mean, her scenes were just phenomenal, but I didn't like the ending. I can tell you that this kid's parents were just awful. But the one I want to talk about here is Past Lives. Oh my gosh. This was my number one. At the moment, this is my favorite film of the decade so far. It topped No Time to Die. It's just, this is a true masterpiece, especially for a debut feature from Celine Song. This is just a gut-wrenching film. It's like a 3-act structure about it's basically from child lovers to reuniting, and it goes in a completely different direction I was not expecting. And it just in these 3-act structures with Greta Lee, Teo Yo, and John Magaro in the third act, with Lee and Yo in the second, and the child ones in the first act. It is just heart-wrenching and just very sad. And this was actually the first movie in a long time I actually cried at when it ended. When after the credits finished with Quiet Eyes, I just that ending was just so gut-wrenching. I really would love to talk more about this movie, but oh my gosh, this should have won Best Original Screenplay and Best Picture, and it is a masterpiece. Definitely my favorite film of the decade so far. One of the best original films. If this did not get that Best Picture nomination, that would have been an awful snub. One of the biggest Oscar snubs of all time. But the fact that it still got in barely, even though it was the least likely to win because it only had the screenplay nod. And I'm glad it won the Spirit Award for Best Picture over there. It's just this is one of the most must-watch films you have seen. It is rated PG-13. And it is primarily a non-English film. I was kind of surprised about it, because there is a large majority of Korean in it. Even though, because, yeah, the first act takes place in Korea, and then the second act is, with these 2 through a Skype call, him in Korea and her in the U.S., and then the third act takes him when he's visiting New York in the United States, and visiting his childhood crush, and who was already married to Margaro's character. It's just Oh my gosh. I mean, this is a must-watch film you need to see. I probably recommend you probably watch this by yourself, but this is definitely a love story for all time, as stated on this top here. But a masterpiece, my favorite film of the decade, and one of the most must-watch films you need to see. So that is basically it for the Amazon Prime Blu-ray haul on October. It's kind of surprising there were two big Amazon Prime sales. Let's see, maybe there might be another one for the holiday. So if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, and maybe there could actually be a legit Blu-ray collection full video on this by the end of the year.